What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and before you jump in, make sure to like the video down below, leave a comment, and as always, subscribe on YouTube down below to be informed of upcoming videos and live streams. Ring that bell. Now let's jump into today's topic, proximity. I talked about variety in long-form improv comedy shows that you can check out in episode 103 of MUT Tips, and something I want to add to that list to inject more variety into your characters, your relationships, and the choices that you make is the proximity that you have when it comes to you and your scene partner. Sometimes, again, we kind of get in that default mode of like walking up on stage and standing just like, maybe 6 feet apart from your scene partner, and it's a little bit stale and stagnant. We do it all the time, so injecting a different proximity and closeness to your scene partner can inform you a lot more. It can inform you about the relationship. It can inform the choices that you make. And the cool thing is proximity can also change as the scene progresses. And making a proximity-based choice at the beginning of your scene is always a great thing to do because it just gives you information. Not necessarily definitive information, but it gives you information that can inspire the choices that you are about to make. So if I started an improv scene and I stand like right here on this side of the stage, but my scene partner's like way over there and like right where that chair is on the opposite side of the stage, that just gives me just an immediately like just a thought, a feeling. Like we have this gap between us, so something interesting is going on between our relationship. And we can start to define that proximity more, why that's there, maybe with like facial expressions, like maybe my scene partner like scowls at me a little bit and, crosses their arms. And I'm like, oh, okay, so they're mad at me. I did something bad, and that causes me to change too. And it all started with this proximity between us. And on the flip side, we can also have close proximity, where it's like, if you start seeing, you grab a chair and you just sit next to each other and face the audience. Well, it's like, okay, that proximity is giving us more information. Like, it can inform a little bit of like what we're doing. Like, we're watching something, maybe we're watching a movie together. It's like Saturday night, and we're just watching Netflix together. We're a couple, maybe. That can be defined based on physical touch with each other, or maybe we're just, roommates and we're just hanging out on movie night. It all just starts to unfold based on that simple acting choice of having a specific proximity to your scene partner. A great exercise that I love to do to help my students kind of figure out their relationship and start to define it is I get 2 chairs and I just place the chairs on stage in a specific position, It'll have a different proximity every time. Sometimes it'll be close, sometimes it'll be far apart. Sometimes, where the chairs are facing will be different. Like maybe they'll be facing towards the audience, maybe they'll be facing towards each other or away from each other, or one person facing away and the other person facing them. There's a lot of interesting things that you can do with this exercise, and you don't have to use chairs. You can also ditch those and just kind of physically place them on stage, but just make a very clear acting choice that you would make on stage as a way to just give them some inspiration. Have them start in silence too. Give them a moment to kind of truly breathe in this proximity that you have with your scene partner, and then let it snowball from there. And to highlight something very important with proximity, proximity is not permanent. It will change, and that's the fun. The visual stimuli of seeing performers deliberately move on stage and change their proximity. So that example from earlier where it's like I'm here, my scene partner's over there, arms crossed, scowling at me. As the scene progresses, it would be weird if I just stayed here and they just stayed there, and it's just like our feet are in cement. We're just showing that the scene isn't progressing. And scenes progress with changes in your proximity to your scene partner. So an example is if I walk towards my scene partner, that is a clear character choice, an acting choice that I'm making. And it could coincide with me pleading for forgiveness. I'm trying to bridge that gap with them. And on the flip side, if they walk towards me, that can mean a totally different thing. When you're mad at somebody and you're maybe getting even more and more mad, you sometimes come towards them, It's kind of like a teacher who walks towards students who are being disruptive. They're more than likely to calm down and stop being disruptive. It's like a control thing. They want the control of the situation. It's a great status move. So that's the cool thing is proximity and changes in proximity, they can mean a lot of different things but they're very, very good things to do on stage as a way to define characters, choices, relationships, everything that goes hand in hand with good improv. And one more quick thing that you can play around with, it's a short form improv game. I call it distance, it might be called something else elsewhere. And the way it works, I usually do it with 3 people. Person A will get a distance. So for example, like 6 inches or something. Person B will get another distance, maybe 3 feet. And then person C will get another one, maybe like 8 feet. Usually like space them around a little bit. A short, medium, and long distance. And what's gonna happen is they do a scene together in the same space, but anytime one of them is addressing somebody, they have to be the distance that they are assigned away from that person. So person C is 8 feet, which means anytime they talk to person A or person B, they have to be 8 feet away from them at all time. And obviously the other people will play around with their distance as well. And it's a game that just gets us moving. It's a silly game. I like to play it just because it gets us from being planted in the ground, and I see so much great potential for scenes, but it goes kind of out the window sometimes because we're just stuck physically in the ground, which causes us to be stuck in the scene mentally up here. So try it out, move around. Moving leads to exploration, moving leads to discovery, moving leads to great improv. And that concludes this episode of MUT Tips, everybody. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye.